Today, we are excited to announce the winner of the International Law Book Facility's first ever Law Undergraduate Essay Competition. The competition was launched by the Lord Chief Justice Lord Burnett of Malden at the ILBF's 15th anniversary event on the 25th of November last year. Our essay competition asked law undergraduates to consider this question. Looking back from 2030, what should we do now to transform the legal profession, including by the use of machine learning technology, to ensure access to justice for all and that the profession is as diverse as the communities and businesses it serves? The winning essayist will receive a week's internship at London law firm Brown Rudnick and up to £500 in expenses. We have been overwhelmed by the quality of the entries to the competition, which have come from universities across the UK, and I'd like to congratulate every student who entered on the depth of the research you conducted, the ideas and insights you put forward, your grasp of the legal technology landscape, and above all, your evident passion and commitment for access to justice for all and diversity in the profession. My fellow judges and I have enjoyed reading the entries immensely. Lord Thomas of Cwmgiedd, our ILBF founder and patron, and Professor Richard Susskind have judged the finalists' essays, and we're very grateful to them both for the time they've taken to do that. I'm delighted to hand over now to Lord Thomas and Professor Susskind to reflect on the essays and to announce the winner.
Well, thank you very much, Katrina. The first thing to say is what an honour it's been to be a judge for this essay competition. I'm just going to make a couple of observations by way of context. I believe, and this is a personal view, but I believe we'll see more change in the next decade than we've seen since the 1870s in the legal world. And a lot of this is to do with technology, which of course was at the core of the essays that were submitted. Three observations about technology. The first is we're living in an era of what I call increasingly capable machines. Hardly a day passes that we don't hear news of some new technology system or breakthrough. The second point to make in that context is there's no finishing line. No one in Silicon Valley or China is saying job done, let's slow down a bit. Quite the reverse. The pace of change is accelerating. And this leads me to my third observation, which is the most unnerving but yet exhilarating, that there's every chance all of our lives will have been transformed by 2030 by technologies that have not yet been invented. So it's in that context, and this is very tricky stuff, that we invited students to submit essays. And the trick here, I think, is to follow the guidance of Wayne Gretzky, who's the great ice hockey player, who was once asked, why are you such a great ice hockey player? And he says it's because I skate to the puck is going to end up rather than where it once was. And that's our challenge, our collective challenge in trying to think about the future of the profession and the challenge facing the essay writers in terms of technology, diversity, and access to justice. We've got to try and anticipate what the world might be like and could be like by 2030 to create some kind of vision of the future and then put plans in place to achieve that vision. It's great to see students begin to engage in these discussions. It's absolutely vital. These are difficult and important issues. And I want to finish by quoting from Alan Kay, a Silicon Valley guru, who once said the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And what was heartening was to see in some of the essays that some of the students are beginning to try and invent the future for the legal world. With that said, Lord Thomas, over to you to announce the winners.
Well, Richard, thank you very much indeed for that insight into the future. When this essay was set, we examined quite carefully the kind of question that should be asked. And I must say, this was not an easy question, particularly for undergraduates. It required thought outside their ordinary experience and the organization of that thought into well-argued ideas on matters well outside their experience. It's quite interesting that at about the same time as we were reading this, the Master of the Rolls last week looked forward to what justice would be like. He was slightly more ambitious and went to 2040, but maybe 2030 was slightly more difficult, as you have to predict something within all of our reaches and imaginations. The essays also had to accommodate the wide scope of what is meant by access to justice, access to advice with or without lawyers, access to dispute resolution, and the satisfactory conclusion of a dispute by settlement, mediation, or decision. And what was so encouraging were the number of interesting ideas set out. I think at the forefront of the essays were a discussion of what could be achieved through machine learning. one essay suggested that machine learning would benefit the profession and those who sought access to justice through it. But it requires a lot of give by the profession and their involvement in this, knowing it wasn't always in their longer term interests. One example put forward was the use of chatbots, and a stress was made, which I think we must never forget, on the need to make certain the approach was human-centric, focused on the user, and on the use of technological devices that are available to everyone, namely the mobile phone, rather than the more sophisticated kind of a notebook. And then there was discussion of what could be got from blockchain technology, principally the use of smart contracts and automatic authentication. This was looked at through a different viewpoint, namely, would that resolve issues without disputes, because there would be no room for argument, and it would enable people to do more without the help of lawyers. The essays then tried to look at whether the ideas could be structured. And one interesting idea put forward was a division into what were identified as operational issues, such as the ineffectiveness of the current system in addressing issues in a timely and proportionate manner, and the use of systems that would enable the focus to be on the key issues, and what were formed as structural ideas, such as better access to data. And the third and very interesting theme of the essays was diversity. Some tackled this by reference to traditional views of diversity, but some were novel. One particular approach was the need to what was described as the cognitive diversity of the profession. It had too many arts graduates, and what was needed was an education that had provided a modern grounding for thinking and an approach to change. Therefore, what was needed were more entry into the profession from those who trained in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As you can see, these essays were full of interesting ideas, and we hope these can be taken forward and thought about by the wider range of students. We had a very difficult job in judging the winner, but we always have to come to a conclusion. And we came to the conclusion that Jude D'Alessio of Bristol University was the winner. May I congratulate the winning candidate on an outstanding achievement, but also congratulate all the other entrants on what was a superb and interesting competition. Thank you very much for giving me some time and some hours of enjoyable reading.
Many thanks, Lord Thomas, and of course, Professor Susskind, for judging the essays and giving up your time to do so. Many congratulations to the winner, Jude, and I'm looking forward to meeting you when you come for your internship at Brown Rudnick and continuing the debate as to how the legal profession will change over the next decade. So congratulations and thank you very much to you all and for all those who contributed. I, as well, really enjoyed reading your articles.